Peace, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Yo, and still I see no changes, I see no changes. The rich and the famous, they walk around like they brainless. We're scared to death to raise you in this world full of danger. Got bad when my brothers started looking like strangers. But you here now, it's my job to make this a little clearer. It's wild, cause when I see you, it's like looking in the mirror. You got my lips, your mother's eyes. You hard-headed like your father with your mother's pride. That's God's gift. I know that I ain't been around, but don't do what I did. I disobeyed my lessons and disrespected my rib. Left you unprotected and let the devil in my crib. Wanted to build a bridge between the churches and the mosques. The world was on my shoulders, but I was out of order. And though with good intent, I was mixing oil and water. I tried to build an ark so our people can stay afloat, but in the process neglected those who needed me the most, and that was you. Left you on your own and even though still you grew. Everything your mother was telling me, it was true. I overlooked the signs and I was blind to the truth. Never seen you as my son, seen you as one of my troops. And what a fairy tale. Wasn't there to catch you when you were slipping, but was on a mission for the Holy Grail. And still I fell, made the path for you to follow. And after death I wanted you to continue the trail, so you could lead your son down the path I failed to show you. It's hard trying to build with a child that doesn't know you. So take heed whenever you have a son or a daughter. Just do me one favor, be better than your father. Sorry. Yeah.
Now sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry, but I know why, baby, I failed you. It's so hard to tell you, but baby, I tried. I really tried. No more lies, baby.
See, I've been praying for a change, asked God for referrals. Sent an angel through your mom that would light up my world. To see you smile was worth much more than diamonds and pearls. The one and only, yeah, my baby girl. Your mother told me growing up her dad was always mistreating. Her moms was too afraid to call the cops cause he be facing some time. Can't imagine coming up, living life as this man's daughter. Late nights creeping, drinking, putting his hands on her. Told me no matter how old she won't forget that, and she would rather die before she would ever relive that. She said promise you'll never hurt me and I'll trust you. I told her I would burn in hell before that day I touched you. And even though I never put my hands on your mom's, been some days where I know she felt abandoned at times. Was once a committed man, now branded a cheater. I was walking in tall grass, it seemed a tad bit greener. And we used to be best friends and now we warring it out. Never ever pick a man that brings a whore in the house. I know it's hard for you to listen to me after finding out I'm the same type of nigga I just warned you about.
Now sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry. I know why, baby, I failed you. Oh, I tried. Yeah. No more lies, baby, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Cause sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry, but I know why, baby, I failed you. It's so hard to tell you, but baby, I tried.
clear. In a bed full of gold, cause up here it's kinda cold. Now
Call from.
Peace, Aseer.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Peace. One day at a time, my brother. You know how it is. Can you hear me? That's what's up. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I just gave honors. You guys didn't hear anything. Thanks though in the chat. Thanks for hitting me up on that. I didn't realize that. Sorry about that, everybody. So we have the brother Aseer on here too as well, and we're just gonna build. Just Morris build. People go ahead, type anything, any questions that you may have in the chat. Just have a few things want to build with Aseer about, and of course, if you have anything that you want to let the family know, feel free, just to speak on it. And one of the things, man, I mean, it's a lot going on. There's so much going on today, so I'm pretty sure people have a lot of questions for you, brother. And I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, brother, and thank you to the people.
Yeah.
For years.
I was about to say too, man. Just in case, I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of you, but just in case you've been under a rock, man, this brother's been teaching for a long time, putting the information out there and going hard for real. And then he's rocking with it for real. It's not just like something for the internet, or for fake. The brother's got his family. He's doing his thing. I'm pretty sure his son knows he's a Moor, his girl, he's doing it for real. And that's what I can vibe with, because that's how we live too as well. And so this brother's thorough. He's authentic. And that's why, we having him on the show to speak. So, yeah, I want to go ahead and turn the floor over to you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Well, again, thanks for having me, and thank you to the people for the support over the years. And, just to let it be known, like, I'm not I don't want people to feel that because, I've been doing this long, that I'm in a position of, or any type of delusion of grandeur as to, our present situation as a people, or feel like I'm some sort of master teacher that is trying to attract followers and things like that. Like, those things, I came up in it just like you know what I'm saying? Just watching and really knowing that something wasn't right, and going through various schools that really turned out to be the same school, you know what I mean? Avoiding the traps as best I could and falling into them. You know what I'm saying? That's part of any being's journey on gathering understanding of self and one's connection to the infinite. You know what I'm saying? And because there's such a push to separate what people refer to as spirituality, whose earthly representation is, let's say, religion, and separating that from the core value of us as human beings, you know what I mean, of the so-called Asiatic race, that it sometimes is very disheartening to watch so many of us who understand that our tribes and clans were dispersed, who understand that through various epochs in time and history, we've existed as a pre and post so-called flood people. And for us to fall into the idea of one of us having to conform our identity into another to become, to so-called unify, when that is still a system of integration that puts someone in a superior position to you, which is exactly why, which is the opposite of why we got into this thing in the first place. So what I be seeing, or what I see a lot of times, is the perpetuation of flaws, you know what I mean? The perpetuation of slander under the guise of expose, you know what I'm saying? Of the blatant disrespect of the very thing that they say that they are representing, whether they be Moors or anyone else. You know what I'm saying? I'm not one who believes that all Moors are supposed to be a certain way.
Islam.
To me, that is oppressive. And that is how a lot of our empire, it was when our dynasties and kingdoms and stuff started to try to consolidate everybody under one sultan, under one caliph, under one emperor, is when the problems came. When there was a bunch of different sultans, a bunch of different emperors, everybody had their kingdoms and trade was fine. Usually these things fell into decline when the totalitarianism started to come in decline, when people started to stray away from their noble nature.
Yeah, facts.
And because your noble nature is intrinsically related to the sense of yourself, and the sense of yourself is enhanced or decreased by your understanding of the infinite and your connection to it. Infinite being another word for to insert whatever entity or understanding you perceive as the higher self, the higher power, which is really the higher self. You then become a part of this organism that was created to use and weaponize humanity against the will of what I refer to as the infinite, as Allah. So the smallest battle or the smallest choice is a shot in the eternal war that we are all born into. So there is a movement to unify people behind the idea of being descendant from slaves. And if they want to prove that they were slaves and thereby are the descendants of those people who are called slaves, then that's their prerogative to do. But to say that all of us, you see what I'm saying, were slaves, when the term slave itself means Slovakian, which is really a Tartarian word for serf, what they call a Slavian, an Old Slavian, which is really an Old Tartarian or Hunnish word for to serve or serf or serfdom. You see, that could never be a designation that applies to you, because that could never be where your national people are, because that's not where your national people are from.
Yeah,
you understand?
So
again,
with that slave tag.
Right. So
you can see
again,
that low key, like in the media with, of course, they having like different leaders in Ghana and places like that apologizing for slavery, and then you have like there was some European American who was like a senator, I think, or governor,
mm-hmm.
but senator,
Mm-hmm.
and she was saying that she wants to, you know, push reparations. You got other people talking about it now. So it's like, you know, it's coming through. And then you hear people too talking about that whole 400-year thing, you know?
Yeah,
And
that's
they talking
coming
about it
too.
now.
But yeah,
Like,
but now see that now is dealing with. See, now you're not talking about slavery. When you talk about the Enochian 400-year jubilee, now that's not has nothing to do with slavery. That has to do with captivity.
yeah.
When you read the Bible, big up to the Hebrew family, big up to all of the tribes, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Dan, tribe of Reuben, all of them. When you read that, it speaks of a time where the people were somewhat lost and would have to consolidate themselves and would fall into captivity. And whilst in captivity, be enslaved. You see what I'm saying? So as much as more than people want to be all caught up in semantics, if they not understand the difference between slavery and captivity. Captivity means you were captured. To be captured means to extrapolate to its fullest conclusion, would then mean that you were in a conflict by which you were taken from somewhere. You see what I'm saying? And then whilst taken from that place, you were brought into a place. And usually in the olden days, the only way that could happen is if you were a prisoner of war. See what I'm saying? So when we speak of us being enslaved when we talk about the Enochian captivity narrative of the 400-year jubilee that's going to take place on New Year's, which is March 21st to 22nd, which would represent the 400th year of the end, or the so-called last day of the actual captivity of the original tribes as prescribed by the original Enochian text that was a part of something called the Genevan Bible from 1599, and then was reorganized again in 1611 by the King James. But before that, it was put in allegorical form and text clay form from the old things like the emerald tablets and things like that was found over here. So what we are failing to understand is that there's a difference between, I think, is we're not understanding that there was a time where the organization was referred to the Moorish Holy Temple Science of the World, you know. And there was another time where it was the Canaanite Temple. And then there was another time where it was this. So each thing had a different organizational protocol that went with it. So as it conveyed into the Moorish Temple of America now, this is a organization that is really the cornerstone for the people who would make nations from this understanding. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why it was significant, and that's why it's so poignant today, because it was the only indigenous so-called Black American movement that had a dictum of its own Islam that actually is the true Islam, because it was not based on any other faction other than the original tenet of the faith, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. And it is Moors make the so-called, this will sound crazy, but Moors make the best Nazarenes. See, Nazarenes are what they would call Moorish Christians or Iberian Christians. We make the best Nazarenes because we understand Isa or Yeshua, you see, as a prophet, just as we respect him as almost like the forerunner for the life that we live in now. Because when you read the Bible, it says that he was hung. You know what I'm saying? So this cross thing that was created was really created to deter people from what was really happening. So those people who were hung from trees would not be connected allegorically or genetically or ritualistically to what was happening in the public eye. To the public eye, it's looking like, oh, this is whatever. But to the people who are orchestrating that, they're using that as the greatest ritual against the sons of men, or the Son of Man. Therefore, when we as Eels and Bays take this name, Eel, Bay, Bay, Ali, Pasha, Allah, whatever, we are genetically reorienting ourselves on a certain divine and national level, in which we start to reverse the polarity structure of how the spectrum hits us. So we then start to repel those ancient enemies of that understanding that has now become on genetically, that is emitting these repulsor field waves from us that we would refer to as bioluminescent energy that attracts and repels energy that is now conducive to this, because this was the original energy that we was initially in before all of the so-called religions that were created by our ancestors to assimilate people who weren't from the original stock of humanity that did it. The Bible can't be for everybody if it's written for a certain people. So this doesn't mean everybody can't be a part of it or assume energy from it, but it is to say that it was written specifically by certain people for certain people, about a certain people. So we as Moors tie into all of that. Even in America, if you look back to the origin of the Moorish Zionist Temple of Moorish Zionist Temple of Harlem Moorish Jews, or Moorish Jews of Harlem, you see it was connected to something called the Ethiopian Royal Order. Yeah. And that was connected to another organization. And that was connected to all of these organizations, that Tribe of Ben Ishmael and other groups like that, Nubian Islamic Hebrews. That's who York claimed his thing from, you see? And this was an ordered thing where everybody was supporting everybody, because everybody was acting as the descendants of what they were, of the original tribes of the lands that were dispersed and were given dominion over everything after the so-called cataclysm. But because that was now under, so an aspect of that is in the Moorish Science Temple, an aspect of that was in the Nation of Islam, an aspect of that was in the Yahweh Ben Yahweh, an aspect of that is in everything.
Can I stop you right there? Don't forget your train of thought. But that goes from South America on up through here. I mean, like, with us living in Brazil for 5 years, we witnessed that with the dark-skinned, melanated people there. In the neighborhoods, like in the hood, you know, they'll have schools and buildings and neighborhoods called Shalom, El Shaddai, things like that. Children are wearing school uniforms with the Star of David on it. They had the Moranos there, right? And this is an ethnic group that went into the central part of the country, right? And they knew that their lineage, they knew that they were Jews or Portuguese Jews or whatever they consider themselves. And there's a whole lot more tied into that, you know, that I won't really go into. I'm not trying to get too far off, but I'm just saying, like, the connections here, and it's obvious. And you have little pockets of communities on up through Belize, on up through here, of people who are holding these, having similar type traditions, you know, even though they're not aware of the prophet and what we have going on here, they had something going on in their own way, which connects them and ties them in to the same thing that we're talking about right now, right here in this hemisphere.
Yeah, because it's the same people, just split up and called something different. There was a group of people, an empire in South America called the Maracas. Like when you see those people dancing and they be shaking those little things, those are called maracas. The maracas was an actual people. They called themselves marac, and then a group of them were called Moroccans. Like, so a Moroccan, what's the difference between a Moroccan and a Moroccan? It's the same people, because it was the same people all up and down here. They'll fight you up and down and say that they wasn't Indian, but they don't even know what Indian means. Indian comes from the Castilian Spanish in los en Dios. Los Deos or los en Dios means the godless, to have no God. Because remember, under the papal bull, the Dum Diversus, 1453, and then the Inter Caetera, and then the other joint they put out, the papal bull they put out, that was saying that the Saracens and the pagans, meaning us, had no God because our God wasn't their God or their version of God that they was going to pump on us. So when we talk about the people who were forced through those years of successive wars, you understand, you're talking about, when you read about old Andalusian Moorish culture, they talk about how the Jews and the Christians and the Moors lived so harmoniously for thousands of years that you couldn't even tell one from the other. So what that says is that we created such a worldwide cosmopolitan society that everybody at one point was basically on it how we was on it. Mm-hmm. But that society lost view of itself due to the political infighting, you know what I'm saying, and the need of the back and forth, well, the need for the expression of one bloodline over the other. And for some reason, one bloodline was polarized around what we call the Order of Christ, and the other was around the Order of Islam, and then the Hebrew people were basically in the middle. And that was polarized not by our people, but by a specific group of amalgamated dirty Moors that started to rise to power at the fall of what we would consider Rome. But see, the problem is Moors is going back and forth with each other with Wikipedia dates and things that happen and all of that. But then there's certain books you could look at where they don't have things like old maps that don't have things like the Great Wall of China on it, or, you know what I'm saying, certain pyramids and stuff that is actually there if you go to these places. And then the way that everything is explained away is that this happened so many thousands and thousands of years ago. But the problem with that is in 1582, they added 1,000 years to the calendar, subtracted like 580 years from our calendar, and then at the same time initiated the BC and AD canon from that point, therefore separating us from the actual time sphere that we were in by forcibly converting people and getting them to adopt their version of their totalitarian, weaponized version of what we understand Christianity. So it's not that Christians were the problem. They weren't, because Byzantine was Christian, you know what I'm saying, and they were Moors. They were Asiatic, black so-called people, because they was connected to the Axumites, and the Axumites was connected to the Abyssinians, and the Abyssinians was connected to the ancient Nabateans and Sabaeans, who produced the so-called Hasmonean dynasty that established Tartarian kingdoms in places like Damascus. You know what I'm saying? Who built some of the ruins they find in places like Perth in Australia. But if you let these people tell you that this was built by Greco-Romans, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. When I'm seeing the same architecture, the same buildings, the same thing in Brazil, in China, in Russia, in America, in Australia, in Gambia, how they all got the same building. So so Rome was the whole planet. That's what y'all saying now? No, that's what y'all trying to make it seem like, because you're trying to erase whole epochs of time based upon these dirty Moors that I was saying that basically had a base in what we call the Mediterranean, in places like, specifically like Venice, and then later London City, and then later Jerusalem, and so forth and so on. But specifically, really, it was Venice. That's why Venice is sinking now, because they did so much dirt and put so much salt in the game. Yeah. Because they all came up during the fall of Granada. All of that land, all of that stuff, all of these, and that's all because they wanted to eat pork and they wanted to get white, you know what I'm saying, continue the heritage with the white women, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. And they just was corrupt. Also, they were the ones who established the whole they tried to base their whole system on the old Phoenician, ancient Carthaginian / Numidian / Mauritanian / Fomorian trade sea empire thing. But the difference between the ancient Phoenicians and them is that they was dealing with real trade. They actually produced stuff in their countries and did trade with everybody. They didn't just take everybody else's stuff and trade and then get money off it. They actually was taking stuff that they was making, like the Murex.
Yeah.
All of that purple dye that you see on the kings and queens of Europe all over the world, all of that came from us. So whenever they had somebody in the Roman Senate, he would wear a purple palliament. The palliament is like the Roman toga. So so we would always have our own thing popping. So essentially, they was on it, and they was against usury. Only time usury came in is when people fell delinquent and they paid the tribute. Because what the Carthaginians would do is that they would come to a land that didn't have no international trade or infrastructure, and they would teach the people how to do stuff. And then in return, they would ask the people to set up little embassies or cities where people could come and help them expand in commerce. And they would actually help them build people's ships and all that. That's how the Phoenicians, that's how the Minoans became seafarers. That's how the Etruscans. That's how all these people became people on the seas. But Moors is only talking about they only talking about treaties that they you know what I'm saying? Like they talking about like wars in Europe and stuff in the 17th century. Like there was no 17th century prior to 1582 is what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
What I'm saying is that was an invention to separate you temporally from your frontal lobe from the idea that there was no difference between the classical, medieval, or ancient world to the people that's there now. And the way they did it was by getting everybody to be on that calendar. They started to flip the whole spherical earth thing. They started to, because up until that time, they was following people like Kepler and Averroes, and these were basically Moors. Because all of the stuff from Granada, after they was able to get in, they didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So they sought out, the Jesuits through Ignatius Loyola, sought out the children of Moors or Moorish conversos, and then would force them through torture to teach them how to read that stuff. And so it got to a point it was too much stuff. So they split it up. So Venice had the most, and so they set up a system to be able to go through it. And once other people started doing the knowledge in other kingdoms, who was Moors, like in the original Hanover or Habsburg kingdoms and that, they started doing the knowledge and stuff because they Moors. And they were taught at the schools at Cordoba and over here in the Yucatan and all that. The ones that was privileged, the highborn ones, the ones that was related to people like Charles V, who married into the Inca family. So you have this cross-continental nationality that supersedes geographic and political boundaries. That regardless, even though, okay, you was a Moor or whatever, King George was referred to by the Sultan of Morocco at that time as the Sultan of Palestine and Rome. And we have pictures of him in a fez and a turban with the feather. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With the Moorish robes on.
I was just showing people a picture. It was a bust, like a statue of a high-ranking Roman official, and he's got a turban on, and then like if you look at the description, it says Roman Nubian in a toga, and it's like from Windsor House Antiques, you know. Right.
But see, the toga is the vulgar term. The palliament, that's actually called the palliament, which is a symbol of royal statehood and nobility. It's like a diadem, like the thing that they wear on the front of your turban, the pin or the whatever. That's called the diadem. That's reflective of the pineal organ. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a way of having God on the outside and showing people that. So that was a signal of the royalty, the activation. So these people that invented this time frame that got us in, well, then once they did that, they needed to get people to stop paying attention to these type of people these Da Vinci type people and all that. Because all of them was Jesuits too. Because the Jesuits, the only way out, if you was a descendant of a Moor to stay there, was to go to their school and teach them how to do it. Or they was going to put you to the racks. Or worse. So this is where these people come from. What made Michelangelo special was he was the one that was commissioned to go there and paint over all of the blackface. He ain't paint that from scratch. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Because his real teacher was a Moor, trained in the old art, named Juan de Pareja. He was a Dey. They got a portrait of him, but they say that he was a slave. You see what I'm saying? Because after Reconstruction, anybody, no matter how much gold, jewelry, countries they look like they standing in front of, had to be listed as a slave. See? To continue the spell of you not having nothing. So this way, when you look at people being lynched in pictures and stuff, you think that those are all sharecroppers. No, those were the kings and the queens of that area. Those were the doctors, the lawyers, the mayors, the judges, the generals, the high priests, the sheiks, the sachems. That's them. Had all of their clothes and their land stripped and put them out to work. And then set up shop in their house. And then said, if you want to stay here, you're going to have to be my slave. Because it says so in the paper. Who set that up? These people I'm talking about. These dirty Venetians. People like a guy named Pantalini and a guy named Mazzani, who is the founder of the mafia. You could trace all of that back to Mazzini. So everybody want to be talking about they Dons and Gambino and all that. All those families, in order for you to be a part of those families, you had to trace your lineage back to the first chick in 7th century that was put in the harem and had that baby with that Moor, and then they have to trace that back all the way back to the first woman who had that baby for the Nephilim, both being dark-skinned melanated people. But they don't tell y'all that. That's why it's so deaf or nothing with that stuff.
Yeah.
Because they are preserving the ancient. You can't stop the truth. You can only hide it and delay it. But you can't. You got to work with it. You got to do stuff with it. You got to put it into other forms. You can't just let it sit there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You got to make it into movies, make it into books, build cities. You got to do something with all of this glorious information. And the thing with Satan is that Satan can't create anything. He's barred from creation. Mm-hmm. Name one thing the devil created other than a lie. Nothing. Nothing that he do. Even when they worship Baphomet. That picture's only 80 years old, man. That was drawn by Eliphas Levi, who, when he died, converted back to Christianity, and he stole it from a glyph that he got from Randolph. Uh-huh. See what I'm saying? So even that, and even when you look at that image, is a crescent and a star in it. It's all of that. But on top of that, everything in it is something that was made by Allah. There's nothing that in it that was made by him. So how is that even a symbol of it? When it is created of stuff that Allah already created. All you doing is trying to recreate, and was the problem with the giants. That was the problem with the Yaqub stuff. That was the problem with the Frankenstein. That's the problem with creating corporations. They get to a point where whatever entity that was invoked in creating it, everybody is a tentacle of that entity. And that entity being totally corrupt and devoid of soul, you see what I'm saying, is usually backed by some sort of satanic imagery or inference that they started doing. We could say going all the way back to the rise of the Venetians, but in our lifetime, from about 1492 to now.
Because somebody was just saying about the giants, William, he was saying in the chat, there's been rumors that the Marines have encountered giants in Afghanistan, like 15 feet, red hair, saying there's some of the ops, like they killed one.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, I heard about that.
Yeah, man, my wife, her grandma from Haiti, like, used to tell us stories about that, man, like, on the island, you know, seeing giants that were so big, like, all they could really see was, like, the bottom half of their legs.
That's right.
And it sounds crazy to, like, you know, to anybody who's not open to that.
Yeah, but it's like nobody can act like they don't know. So when it goes down, This is why it's out there. So everybody that's laughing and thinking it's a joke, they think it's a joke. But this is, where do you think all of this imagery and programming comes from? I just told you, the devil cannot create anything. There's nothing on earth that was created by anybody who represents the devil, Lucifer, Satan, whatever you want to call it. So therefore, if they have never created nothing, and they showing you movies about giants and dragons and all that, that means they didn't create that either. That means that's coming from something else that was already here, that now they created dinosaurs, so that way that explains about 100 million years that they don't have to talk to you about. when dinosaurs is really just invention of these pets of the things that used to really run this place, man. You want to find real ancient stuff, you got to read real stuff. So everybody can hate on the Bible. Everybody can say this and that, whatever you want to say. But look, man.
Yo, everyone's there's a whole bunch of people in the chat that want to ask you about the walls, man. People asking what's the significance of the walls, like Russia, China, you know, what Trump is doing. Somebody said Rex 84.
What happened at the fall of Jericho? What happened? They was at the wall, right? They was at the wall, and the Bible say that the wall, the Geneva Bible, the Enochian script, the Book of John, all say the same thing. And when they got there, the walls was so high that they, being like maybe the shortest among them is maybe like 6 foot of us at this time. These things is so tall you can't even see the sky. How tall it is. Somehow or another, we break that stuff up. And then because there were the daughters of men who were in Canaan at that time, you had sections. Like you got some sections where the big giant titans live, then you had some sections where like the Thanos-sized dudes live, then you got some sections where, you know what I'm saying? It's like that. So then, but the smaller ones is the ones that's more related to humans. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of them convert. A lot of them see, oh, they must be powerful if they could do that. So because we are descended from the daughters of men too, we're going to hook up with them as Canaanites against these dudes. But because of that gene or whatever, because Allah want us to have that in part of our genetic mixture in that way, a lot of them were denied. Like the tribe of Dan was denied. So they had to go and set up kingdoms of their own. You see what I'm saying? And then out of those kingdoms, like it say in the prophet, they went to Egypt and asked for permission to set up the ancient kingdoms. And who was it? The Canaanites, the Amalekites, the Isites, the whateverites. And they consolidated then as the Moabites. When you read in the Bible, all of those are the giant tribes. You understand? So this had to be bred out. This had to be dealt with, because across the rest of the world, Joshua and them is racking up big numbers. He taking out at least 15, 16 kingdoms himself. Giant kingdoms. These things that already been here. That's still wet from the flood waters. This stuff that's still drying from the flood. These floods that we see now is still part of the old deluge that happened. That's recorded in every society in the world. So this ain't fiction. We talking about the natural ebb and flow of how this plane operates, and they got us thinking the opposite. They got us eating an orange, thinking it's an apple. You see what I'm saying? It's the reverse. So they got it where with the wall. That's what happened. Everything switched when the wall came down. So now here we are in 2019. You dealing with a wall. You understand? That is now trying to be put up to keep the giants, the barbarians, out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same ritual, just in reverse. The giants today are who? Satan, the devil, the so-called Illuminati, all of these people that are a part of the very thing that we say that we're not. They represent that, because that's a giant entity that's serving what? Elder gods that had sworn death oath against us for destroying and taking over the plains, you see what I'm saying, and forcing them to the nether region. The same way you see in Game of Thrones, the same way you see in Lord of the Rings, the same way you see in Star Wars, the same way you see in He-Man. It's the same thing, because these people can't create a new story. So the story has to reflect the older story. And the older stories that they can deal with, that modern people deal with, are the stories that come out of the what? The Bible. So therefore, the Bible is then created by who? James. So at the time that they wanted to get rid of James, you had the Euless. That was a dynasty, and you had the Ibelline. James' kingdom, his people was set up from 927. That's when they allegedly established the kingdom of James and them people, what we call the United Kingdom. They called the flag the United Jack, the Union Jack, because when you look at images of James, there will be a Latin term around him that says, I think, Magnum, Hiberium Rex, something Jacobus. Because the Union Jack is representing Jack, which is short for Yakub. The United Kingdom is the kingdom was the kingdom of the 12 tribes of Yakub that resettled in that area, who changed descent from a guy named Brito. Brito was the ancient Hebrew from, again, the tribe of Dan, another tribe of giants who were Canaanites or whatever, who went into the land that we today call Albion. It was called Albion according to the story because it was ruled by some giant, and the giant's name was Albion. And so Brito, also known as Brutus, goes in with his people. They fight the giants, knock down the giants, get them all down to two, Gog and Magog. Gog, they threw over the cliff, the White Cliffs of Dover, as they say. And or when they fell or whatever, he became the cliff or something like that. And when you look at the White Cliffs of Dover, you see they look like bone, like a calcified bone, like a piece of a leg or something, with grass and stuff on top. Anyway, his man, Brito's man, his general was like, nah, don't kill him, Magog. I didn't get a chance to fight. I just died. So let's nurse him back to health, take control of the region, get the rest of them out, and then when they get better, then we'll fight. And so they did that. Took another year, whatever, did all of that. He got better. They fought. He killed him, right? And then, boom, they renamed the island after Brito, which is Britain or Britannia. And he became the Britannic Majesty. And everybody that was crowned from there became a part of the Britannic Majesty system, or because they were also connected to the people they called the Baratain. The Baratain or the Baratine people or the Baratai people are ancient Moorish Indian people from the Mauryan dynasty that you could get a book called Consecrated Talisman by Uriel Bay, Volume 1 and 2, or you could get African Presence in early Asia and read about them in that, or Sex and Race. With them books right there, shut down anybody's argument about any of this stuff. Yeah. And so Albion becomes Britain, and then the kings from Britain basically establish a real dynasty, whatever, and then by 927 they consolidate. Once they consolidate, they basically rock it really up until 1707 or 1708 when Anne comes in. And then, but by that time, James, remember, Granada had already fallen. Granada was still popping during this time. See what I'm saying? Granada was popping, all of that. So before the rise of the so-called empire of Brito and Britain and them, right? Remember, the Moors got there in the 7th century. These people didn't pop it off. These Moors didn't pop it off to the 9th century, 900. So in that now, you have Granada being established, Europe being repopulated by Moors, getting rid of whatever we're dealing with the dirty wildmen, the Vandals and them. While on the other side, you got James and them basically putting everything down, and now they are, by 900 now, they are now civilized or whatever enough to establish their own thing. Because they are connected to the Moors, the same way Brito was connected to the ancient so-called Greeks, you see what I'm saying? Because they were connected to the ancient so-called Egyptians, because they were connected to the ancient so-called Hebrews, who were connected to the ancient so-called Canaanites. So how are we all, you know what I'm saying? Like, we different customarily, but essentially, the Asiatic Creed says we all of one. Because under our law, we all under that. It's just that we, for whatever humanity or Asiatic race or arm leg arm head or whatever you want to call it, we had a specific destiny, and I guess wasn't supposed to be genetically tampered with or genetically dealing with all of these other people. You dig what I'm saying? Which is why we had to be a definitive people that had certain protections. Look how we dress. We wrap ourselves in robes. We wrap ourselves in white burnouses and stuff that symbolize clouds and stuff like that. Yeah. We wear the conical helmet that if you really turn it upside down and you had to get water, you could use your fez to drink from. Think about that, man. We sit around and we have tassels and stuff, so when there's flies or whatever come around or whatever, we can just flip our head and the tassel get rid of the thing. We're functional. We became a functional, so-called eternal people based upon a certain mind frame that was able to pass down through whatever priesthood, through whatever culture, through whatever society that we as a people evolve or help evolve. And so as a transcontinental people with a vast empire, in Jamaica, I'll be a Maroon, but then in Philippines, I'll be a Moro, but then in America, I'll be a Moor, just like I'm in Europe, I'm a Moor. So by the time they set up the Holy Roman Empire in 962, you see what I'm saying? That's now connected to the old Roman Hanoverian dynasty. This is now when George and then people start coming in. And they are in bed or in debt to the Venice dirty Moors. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Who are now financing and trying to get money and box the Medicis out by backing up the dirty Vatican to genocide the Cathars, the original Moorish Catholics, to decimate the Albigensians, to initiate the Crusades. You see what I'm saying? So that way, by the time Granada falls, the central point that we use to keep the empire together is now fractured, causes all of these Moors to push down into what was then Songhai, which is a part of the ancient empire in so-called Africa that was connected by way of trade and everything through Phoenicia and us over here and over there. This is seen in the Born Stone. This is verified in the Born Stone. This is verified by the oldest Christian church in the United States, found in Cacapansec, that was built by the Moroccan monastery, by the Moroccan monastic brotherhood in the 3rd century. This is verified in the Russian iconography. This is verified in the old Tibetan stuff. So this empire went all over, and we was there. But when these people, these dirty Moors came in, they came in under the pseudo fake Templar philosophy of the Masonic thing, the Freemasonic thing, and used that to blackmail and make paper bulls and put information out there that wasn't true, to back lunatics like Isaac Newton, Milton, John Donne, John Dee. The whole gunpowder plot that we see in the movie V for Vendetta was about killing James, was against going as James, because they didn't want James to do the Bible, because the Bible as a grimoire, a spell book, is a tool you can use to unbreak the time spell. Because once you understand that everything happens in a cyclical form, that the flood been happening every 250 some odd years, that's the only way you can explain the cataclysms that come around those time periods. And what this devil did was learn how to time his ascendancy with those cataclysms. You understand? There was something called the Numa. They talked to you about the War of 1812, but did they tell you that was happening during a worldwide upheaval where there was lava and everything flowing in all parts of the United States, where hail and meteors and stuff was falling?
Yeah. No, they leave all that.
That's called the New Madrid earthquake.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say that. The whole Mississippi reversed its flow. Nah.
So talking to us about that.
So what's going on right now, right? With all these celestial events, right? Right? Didn't we just have like another supermoon a few days, just like 2 days ago?
Yeah. This is why, because the time is sickling down. The time that this thing is happening is closer than you think. Remember, there is no past the way that you understand the past. Mm-hmm. It does. The past and the present and the future exist simultaneously. It's a simultaneous entity because it all exists in a spiral matrix. And
somebody just asked in the chat. So with the control that they have now, like over our minds, will claiming sovereignty, be enough for them to back down?
See, that's the thing. The sovereignty thing is the problem. The sovereignty thing is, it is a fool. Anybody that tell you stuff like what you believe ain't real or what you this is that or whatever, those people are the people that are involved in the program. Meaning that if you can't prove to me, if you want me to prove, instead of me trying to prove to you that I am a Moor, prove to me that I'm not. Prove to me that the mountains of evidence to prove all of the stuff that's coming out from me and other people and stuff, that the mountains of evidence that someone proved that, from out of the mouth of the devil itself telling these people that, and they still want to be everything other than. So what that says to me is, you got to understand, they don't respect their ancestors. You may not like Moors, that's cool, but if it wasn't for Moors, you'd be even more of a situation. You would be even more under the yoke of these people. The only reason why they haven't come over here and blown these people up with nuclear bombs is because we here. Because we are the original people here, and they all know it. But we were not the original people of Indios, of Los Indios, meaning that we were not people of godlessness. That's just what they needed to say.
Yeah.
To geese up other people who spoke other languages who were foreign from here. They keep telling you that Moors, they keep telling this lie that Moors brought you into slavery. When if you read the records of the Portuguese mercenaries that went into the port of Saleh, went into the slave ports of Saleh and bought the African Bantu-speaking prisoners of war and put them on galley slave boats as conquistadors to come over here and take your land. And you're going to tell me we did it? We was the ones that was hijacking their ships to the point they all had to band together to stop us from enslaving them, stop them from bringing slaves and importing us from over here over there. That's what the Barbary Wars was about. You don't believe me? Get the book, Diplomatic Relations Between the United States and the Barbary Powers by Irwin.
Yeah,
Get the book. Wars
Abdullah Bey wrote a good book about that too, Moors and Masonry. But yeah, they completely leave all of that out.
He's going because they all Freemasons, because they all part of the privateer order that work with these people to keep us enslaved, because they descend from those who descend from the Royal Ethiopian Army that came over here during the Great Madrid earthquake, Madrid, America, not Madrid over there, that led to the destruction of all of the monuments and stuff that was in the world or whatever at that time.
Yeah, so for the people who aren't hearing that, like what he's saying, like in this period in the 1800s, while they're telling you that we're enslaved here, okay, the United States, France, Britain, Germany, all of these countries are all paying tribute to the various Barbary powers, right? From Algeria, on. It doesn't matter. They're all paying tribute. Some of them are paying all of them at the same time.
They playing Barbary in the West, the North, Central, and South, and the Northwest Africa. They paying Tartary on the other side. Everything from the Far East, from Shinar, which is now Mesopotamia, all the way up into Turian, which is now they call Tartary, because the Turians under El Yamir were the ones that built the pyramid at his behest. Because the person they talking about, Khufu and Khafra, that person didn't exist. Because they got pictures of these giant people working with the Moors to bring the stones back from China, Asia. And then there was a group of them that stayed there because there was another Moorish giant kingdom there called Thracians, the Thracian people, or Thrace. And they had a descendants of people who then moved back to the Mediterranean and became the Trojans from Troy, also the Dacians. And so these Thracians, they were a empire, again, that was already there, and then they culminated. And then this led to the ancient peoples and the stories of the giants, the people who built them giant castles and stuff in the mountains of Tibet and all that. That's these people. And then eventually, allegedly, during the wars, they said it got too bad, and that's when they went down into the inner earth and went to Shambhala. Look at that, Shambhala. So the inner earth kingdom is Shambhala. The astral kingdom is called Valhalla. Come on, man. Like what are they really? What are they saying? Like they about to come out with a documentary in a couple of days where they showing how the ancient Vikings was all Moors.
Yeah.
Coming on TV, and white folks is getting upset.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because now they're being forced to drink double the cup. Because now those of us that understand what it means to have blood and deed, what it means to understand love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, what it means to be a sheik as opposed to being an imam. You understand? Mm-hmm. We Moors are sheiks because that was the title of trustee given to us by our prophet, our direct conduit to Allah. Therefore, nobody could tell me that I'm somehow less of a sheik than this person, especially if I've gone through the proper procedure of an 8-up chamber and then being welcomed by the people who brought me through that as that. Because that's not masonry. That's not Freemasonry. That is Muslim customary law. That is Sharifan law. And under Sharifan law, anybody that lived under the Sharifs, under the Muslims, under the Moors was considered a Moroccan. Look it up. So these Indian people talking to you about being Indians and all that, and that they don't have nothing to do with Moors, but in their little communities, they got a Sharif, right? They got a Mayor, right? They got a bailiff, right? They got a minister, right? These are all Islamic terms. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking? And y'all niggas speaking English. And y'all speaking English in session.
And
y'all speaking.
And they living in
language and all.
I was about to say, and they living in cities named Tallahassee, you know?
Yeah.
And have tribes named Algonquin.
On Alibaba Boulevard, where the city hall is in the Moorish architecture style of Granada. Like that's because this was New Spain. Mm-hmm. This is why if you was African, then when this happened, we'd all be in Africa right now. Because after the Moors left, they allegedly were supposed to go on to Africa, right? That's where they came from, right? No, they followed them over here. And the other lie of him trying to find India is a lie, because Indios, again, lost in Dios, the lands of the godless or the godless. There was no place called India at that time. That place was called Hindustan, and that was a part of the Chandragupta Mauryan dynasties that conquered that area all the way back in 732 or 745, depending on what calendar you read, and ushered in thousands of years, all up until they started attacking the original black Buddhists and all of that, and then they started shutting it down, and then they put in that fake Zen system, and then the so-called Aryan light skin started banishing the Jawaras and the Sentinelese and the darker ones, and then they basically went over and then went into Indonesia and all that and kept their culture all up until the dirty Moors from under Philip want to come now to Indonesia and shut them down. But they Moors, they Moros. So they got their nationality, and now don't let nobody take it from them. But they allowed the state of the Philippines to be created. You see? But Moros, they got their own thing, but because they don't deal with all the bankruptcy and all that, you don't hear about them. Same thing with the Maroons, you don't hear about them. Our job is to politicize them enough to understand their ancient connection to the land they're in. So I don't want them to necessarily become Moorish Americans. They can be Moro, whatever they are, where they are. Mm-hmm. And I, as a Moorish American, they become Moorish Americans when they join the Moorish Temple of America. But until then, we're just Moors of the Asiatic race. So how else do I deal with you? I deal with you based on your custom of the Moros over there and the custom of whatever government or whatever that represents the sheiks from over here. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then when we start talking religion, cultural exchange of religion, now I start talking to you about the Moorish Temple. They start talking to me about whatever Moro temple they deal with. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. In light of what you're saying, though, as far as like our people here, would you advise people to join the Moorish Science Temple of America? Like, the people, so-called African Americans.
Yeah. Look, these Moors that's out here with this Psalmist citizen stuff and procedure, all these extra procedures that's not necessarily government backed. Even though I may disagree with aspects of how they doing stuff and the fact that some people just jumping into that, not understanding all of that, I still have more respect, not the ones that's trying to do that to scam people and all that, but the ones that's really trying to make that happen, and this is what they say they're going to do, regardless of war, whatever. I feel that spirit, and what we have to stop doing is castigating those people and get them to be educated as to where the flaw in that stuff is and how to necessarily negotiate that to get the desired result they really want, as opposed to just letting them go to jail, not doing nothing to deal with them, not trying to get them out, using them as examples of what not to do. That's what the devil been doing to us. How is that helping us as an Asiatic race come together? When it says that I'm not supposed to forsake my brother in times of need, and I'm not supposed to choose any other above my brother or my sister.
So
how am I going to do that for myself or sheep or whatever? So I believe that those types of people who get involved in that, they need to slow down. They need to really understand what they're doing, know the difference as to what you're saying, and don't mix one thing into the other. Don't try to take Moorish Science Temple of America, Divine and National Movement information, and then merge it into this whatever information without having a clear delineation as to how that operates. You know what I'm saying? There are people, there's sheiks that have businesses, and their businesses is registered to the temple. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Their businesses that are registered to the temple, their businesses are not the temple, but they have a jurisdiction under the temple, you see? So there has to be a way that is negotiated between the religious state and the national state. But what binds them is your administration. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And people are not being taught how to demonstrate this in proper commerce because they're looking for the quick way. They're looking for the easy way to do it. But you have to establish what your position is first. So if it's a Moorish Science Temple, even if it is a 501c3 Moorish Science Temple, is it productive? Does it have a community base? Are the sheiks really vetted in what they do? You know what I'm saying? Is there a core governmental body of that? Are they a part of the so-called Supreme Council? Is it properly chartered and warranted? Is it coming from whatever line it's coming from? Just so you know. You know what I mean? Just so that way when Moors come to you with whatever they coming to you with, or they feel a certain way about you because you with this body and they with that body. What you have to understand is all the same body. It's ecclesiastical body politic and corporate. But only the members can call themselves sheiks. See what I'm saying? That's the difference. It's a trusteeship because the Divine and National Movement, the organ of the Al-Moroccan Empire, is vested in us in chapter 47 when we become Moorish Americans through the temple. You see? So that is an example of your dominion. Now, this doesn't mean just because that's your dominion, you have the right to then go and then just take somebody's property, not tell nobody nothing to do. That's what they did. So now they have the right to violate you because you're violating your own law. What you have to do is make sure your legal standing is correct and then use the status that you have basically to force them submit because all of your estate, trust, national, divine, instruments of representation reflect that. And your character is representative of that. You can have the best paperwork you want, but if you come to me and your feds is dirty, or you come up to me and we talking and you smell bad, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We Moors are, they want to say it's superstitious, but we are hyper intuitive people. Yeah. And we can kind of pick up on certain vibrations because of the fact that we are identifying with something that everybody has chosen and sworn oaths to forget. So that naturally clicks us into and plugs us into a certain mind frame and a certain telepathic wavelength that we all share. So we who identify as Moorish Americans have certain experiences that only we as Moorish Americans will understand. Just as those Moors that are not Moorish Americans who just consider themselves Moors or whatever will have the same experiences. But it won't exactly be what it is with us. That's what makes Freemasonry and that stuff attractive. Yeah. Because it's the illusion of inclusion. It's the illusion of brotherhood. It's what they saw us doing and what they emulated as best as they could. It was their best impression of the empire set up through the eyes of Satan. And so it's not a religion thing. I'm not religious, but on paper and in dealing with Rome or whoever, there are categories that apply to what already was. So the Moorish Science Temple, as a real organization, is not a 501c3. It was it could be grandfathered in to be that, but it exists as an entity outside of that. All of that stuff is subordinate to it. But if you want to incorporate your joint in that way, you can do that. All I'm saying is, if you're going to do that, make sure that what you're doing is really helping the people. Yeah. Don't just do that to get money. Don't just take money to do something that's not going to do that. Don't just take money and say, okay, well, we got this property, this building, and we got it, and we need money to get it, and then you never get it. Like, don't do that. This is why the prophet shut the temples down in 29. Because of errant stuff like this. So now we're in a position where you have people who earnestly want this information, but they got to weed through the same climate that our people was in 1492. You done had 100 years. Yeah, but you got to start with we got to start with us. We got to start with us. We got to start by, whenever you see somebody say something dirty or whatever about Moors or whatever, and you type something real thing on it or whatever, read it and then delete it. Start disassociating yourself and just blocking, and just when people talk about boycotting, it really don't exist. You either are going to pay attention to the distraction or you're not. And right now we have to guard our minds. We have to guard our spirit.
Islam, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
We have to protect our minds and the minds of our children. And we have to let me not say it like that. We don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything I'm saying. Anybody don't got to do nothing what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, if you don't, then you can't be upset at what has happened and what will continue to happen. And Allah is not going to wait for you to get it together. It's going to do what it's going to do, regardless of who or what. We on a countdown. We on a time level. And they got you thinking that the world is going to end at that and all of that, but it's their world that's ending. It's not yours. It's not your world that's ending. It's not the end of your world. It's the end of their world. It's the end of them. It's the end of anybody that's down with that. It's the end of anybody that sacrifices somebody else for vanity or for sloth or for envy. Things like integrity, things like honor, things like chastity. These things is important. These things is what made us a vast empire, man. Made us a beautiful and wonderful people. And all we want to do is just constantly find fault with one another. I didn't get into this for that. I didn't get into making, when I first started doing this stuff, I didn't get into this thinking that I would one day be approached with having to make a response to something. Mm-hmm. The minute I start thinking like that, I just stop and I regroup and I just don't do nothing. Let niggas say what they want to say. I done had niggas say I'm a clone. I done had niggas say all types of stuff. Yeah. I'm lying about actual stuff that happened and all that. And it's like, it's okay. I'm making stuff up. Like, how am I making up stuff when everything that I'm making, that I'm getting from the universe? This is stuff that's been out here.
Yeah, you're right.
It's been out here.
If you respond to it, you give credence to it, and you're making them more legitimate.
And I don't, because at 46 years old, the last thing I'm gonna do is start talking to another man who really is emotional about something. Like, so long as I'm not out here trying to do what these people is doing, which is why I had to separate from a lot of situations, a lot of people, a lot of events, I had to turn down money. I got to turn down certain things just because I can't just do, like, it's to the point where I can't just be on things with certain people, because the minute you do that, the next day, this one involved with this and this one involved with that. Now I look crazy. And I just said, what's up to this dude? This dude was at the event, and I just said, I'm down with him. Now I'm in a picture with him. Now I look like I'm condoning that. Because our people look for reasons not to trust you. Mm-hmm. They look for reasons, but they give the devil the benefit of the doubt every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And then wonder why we treated the way we treated. Look, I showed on the last tape that I did on YouTube now. When I was a kid, I went to art school, and I'm really into painting. So for a little time, I was a fine artist. I was really doing gallery shows and all that. But I had to stop because eventually, just like when I was doing modeling, it got to a point I had to stop because, you know what I'm saying? The underlying thing was, you know, you got to go to this place. You got to go right now. Like all of that. So that being said, I used to study naturalist painters. And one painter was Thomas Cole. And Thomas Cole was born in the 1800s, and he came to prominence around the 1830s or whatever. So this is all during the time of the Civil War and all this stuff's supposed to be going on. This is the time that you're supposed to be in slavery. The only problem with this is that slavery wasn't brought to the new territories until 1854. So how are you a slave when they didn't even have the legislation to push it through to make it where everybody on it was like that? Because up until the Louisiana Purchase, everybody was of their free nationality because they were under protection of the Spanish Empire. And the Spanish Empire had forced capitulation through the surrender of Grenada and was enforced through Britain to look out for those Moorish subjects and those indigenous ones that was mine. This you could read about in the book 10 Years of Secret Diplomacy, for those people that don't believe that. You could also read the book, The Moors After Spain by Stanley Lane Poole. Anyway, they created
looks like we lost Aseer. So everybody just hang on. I see the questions and I'm making note of it, you know, so I'm not just ignoring anybody's questions. And I'll see if we can get Aseer back on. Maybe phone battery died or something like that, but just hang on and we'll get it, you know, we'll run it back. And one of the things that he was speaking on, like, I'm not putting words in his mouth or anything, but a lot of people that are coming into the information, right? A lot of people getting it exposed, I guess you could say, to more science through some of the stuff that's out there that's got, like, you know, that's coming from all different types of sources. It's got some of that sovereign citizen stuff and a whole bunch of other stuff mixed in. Hang on one second. I'm trying to get back with Aseer. And so, you know, you got a lot of people who are out there who are putting that type of information in, and so that's where a lot of people are coming in. And I get it, like just like he was saying. I say this all the time too. I feel the energy people are coming from. You know where they're coming from. Totally get that. Hang on 1 second. Peace. Hey, can you can you call right back in? All right, hang on 1 second. Let me send you the number again. Something just went wrong. Hold on. All right. So yeah, we're gonna try to get Aseer back in. Just hang on. Yeah, I don't know what happened. What's the deal? It ain't working. We not working. Yeah, I don't get it. We're gonna try this one more time. Just hang around. Hang around. Chill. We'll be right back. Oh wow. Man, thanks. Keep doing that. Yeah, so what I was gonna say is just come back tomorrow and click on the description and we'll put the links in there for those artists if you want to check out their music. Alright. And we're gonna run it back. We're gonna get Aseer back up in here. And just give us a second. And oh yeah, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you share it. Okay, everybody share this. Okay. Still not working, y'all. It's all good. I guess we were going in too heavy. For real. It happens. Yeah, so if we still having difficulties, we'll just run this back another time. And like I said though, if you enjoyed that music, just come back tomorrow. Excuse me, and we'll have the link in the description. Okay? So the link will be in there and you could just click on that to go to the SoundCloud and you know, whatever other sites the artists have. Okay? And then too, to the people out there with music, just email me at bay@moorishamerican.com. All right, but we're not giving anybody a pass. We're not just playing music just cause you Moorish. All right, it's gonna have to be hot. This like y'all remember Showtime at the Apollo where they had this one dude. This was like in the 90s. They had this one kid. He was like a teenager. And he used to come out there and he sing the same gospel song, and he was whack, but they were scared to boo him because he was singing about God. So we not doing it like that. But if your stuff's hot, we'll play it. What? Okay. Yeah, I guess they're killing the feed. We might just have to call it quits. I'm not gonna publicly diss anybody or try to talk trash about anybody, but for real, if the music's hot, we'll play it. Right? And like I said, maybe we have to run this back later, cause yeah. Y'all just hang on. Alright. Yeah, that's crazy, y'all. Alright, so everybody just chill. We're gonna try it one more time, alright?
You know it's an inside job, right? Go inside make the outside work. You doing that in the work? In the work, that's all you really need. You can't grow if you ain't progressing. Love is that nurturing, that godly energy in everything, in everything. Love is evolved, just spell it backward. Or you can say evil. Eve is a Eve, Eve is a veil. Don't be deceived, they will mislead. Tempting your mind, don't cross your will. I am a Moor, I can't be black, that is not a human. You make no sense, that is a word to denationalize us. Facts, black or Moor, get a dictionary and look it up. Royalty, nobility, our ancestors in Europe. You'll never learn this in school cause they don't want you to wake up. Times has changed, information is cause it's the age of Aquarius. You can't lie to me, cause I know who I am. I'm a Moor, I honor my forefather. You can't lie to me, cause I know who I am. I'm a Moor, I honor my forefather. Just do right, serve most highs, ultra violent light. Just do right, serve most highs, ultra violent light. Just do right, serve most highs, ultra violent light. Just do right, serve most highs, ultra violent light.
Yagera Areza, the animal used in the experiment that created what you call the caveman or paleolith. If you don't believe it, go to the Oxford Dictionary, look up hybrid, then go look up troglodyte nigger, and then look up chimpanzee.
Don't call me no negro, I'm a true moreno. Always move forward, that's the way I go. All of my vibes get pencil. If you can't grin, don't smile. Money comes to me like wow. Haters always broke, that's wild. So most hot. Negro means black, yeah, black chimpanzee. I am more, don't disrespect me. You're using their brands, you will never be free. Cursing yourself, lost identity. Truth always comes to those who gon' find it. True religion, Kabbalistic, straight knowledge. Yippee-ki-yay, only way out is in. Every day I proclaim who I is. Don't call me no negro, I'm a true moreno. Always move forward, that's the way I go. All of my vibes get pencil. If you can't grin, don't smile. Money comes to me like wow. Haters always broke, that's wild. So most high, created in the image most high, Hashem. By law, I can never be a U.S. citizen. I am not state property, human capital. I'm a free white person, Moorish American national. I'm a competent heir, reclaim my state from the Moroccan Empire. Open up the gate, for the record I proclaim my nationality. Salute to the prophet of Ali. Don't call me no negro, I am a true moreno. Don't call me no negro, I am a true moreno. Don't call me no negro, I am a true moreno. Don't call me no negro, I am a true moreno.
You're not Italian, therefore you're not black. And European black, it means caveman.
Yo, and still I see no changes, I see no changes. The rich and the famous, they walk around like they brainless. We're scared to death to raise you in this world full of danger. Got bad when my brothers started looking like strangers. But you here now, it's my job to make this a little clearer. It's wild, cause when I see you, it's like looking in the mirror. You got my lips, your mother's eyes. You hard-headed like your father with your mother's pride. That's God's gift. I know that I ain't been around, but don't do what I did. I disobeyed my lessons and disrespected my rib. Left you unprotected and let the devil in my crib. Wanted to build a bridge between the churches and the mosque chairs. The world was on my shoulders, but I was out of order. And though with good intent, I was mixing oil and water. I tried to build an ark so our people can stay afloat, but in the process neglected those who needed me the most, and that was you. Left you on your own, and even though still you grew. Everything your mother was telling me, it was true. I overlooked the signs and I was blind to the truth. Never seen you as my son, seen you as one of my troops. And what a fairy tale. Wasn't there to catch you when you were slipping, but was on a mission for the Holy Grail. And still I fell, made the path for you to follow. And after death I wanted you to continue the trail, so you could lead your son down the path I failed to show you. It's hard trying to build with a child that doesn't know you. So take heed whenever you have a son or a daughter. Just do me one favor, be better than your father. Sorry. Yeah.
Now sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry, but I know why, baby, I failed you. It's so hard to tell you, but baby, I tried. I really tried. No more lies, baby.
See, I've been
sorry.
praying for a change, asked God for referrals. Sent an angel through your mom that would light up my world. To see you smile was worth much more than diamonds and pearls. The one and only, yeah, my baby girl. Your mother told me growing up her dad was always mistreating her moms. Was too afraid to call the cops cause he be facing some time. Can't imagine coming up, living life as his man's daughter. Late nights creeping, drinking, putting his hands on her. Told me no matter how old she won't forget that, and she would rather die before she would ever relive that. She said promise you'll never hurt me and I'll trust you. I told her I would burn in hell before that day I touched you. And even though I never put my hands on your mom's, been some days where I know she felt abandoned at times. Was once a committed man, now branded a cheater. I was walking in tall grass, it seemed a tad bit greener. And we used to be best friends and now we warring it out. Never ever pick a man that brings a whore in the house. I know it's hard for you to listen to me after finding out I'm the same type of nigga I just warned you about.
But sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry. I know why, baby, I felt you. Oh, I try. Yeah. No more lies. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 'Cause sometimes I get lost in my mind. I sit back and I cry. But I know why, baby, I felt you. It's so hard to tell you, but baby, I try.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. There is one host in this conference. The recording has started.
Peace, everybody. That was the man Dre Lloyd. That last track. We're gonna try one more time to get Aseer in here. I don't know, man. It was weird, man. All the technical difficulties. I can't call it. But yeah, I did go ahead and put up our call-in number. So if anybody wants to call in, go ahead. Just use that access code 605-475-4018. Access code 94739. All right, and hopefully we could get this popping and then pick up where we left off. And we do this for like another 30 minutes or so. But if not, we'll just run it back. Probably do it next week. Okay? So yeah, and of course I appreciate everybody for coming in here and for sharing this too. Make sure you share this at least once or twice, okay? And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right? So, didn't forget anybody's questions either. Just been taking notes. All right? Y'all like that music though? How y'all feel about that stuff? Okay, yeah, brother. I saw that too. This brother Bashir, whatever. I saw your question. I think you asked that earlier. What? Yeah. Y'all going in on the chat, man. I can't do it like that. Y'all going in. Word. All right. But that's what's up. We got Moors in Trinidad. And that one more, if the brother King Tut the Ruler, if that brother's in here, the dude that I was talking about, he was in Guyana, not in Trinidad. But there was somebody else who was asking about Trinidad. It was a different person too, as well. Okay, yeah, we just gonna have to run it back another day. Cool. What's that? What number? What you want? Go ahead, post the number. Oh, you want me to post the phone number? All right. Hold up. Yeah. 605-475-4018. They not letting Aseer call in. It's crazy. Yeah. But to the brother who was asking about the Moorish consulates, like, if you want to see what I think about it, just look at the other videos on the channel. You know, like, I don't want to sit up and trash other organizations or anything, but like, you know, I wouldn't mess with it, cause I don't like the way that they officially approach things, like on the website. You know, some of the stuff I'll pull it up for you, cause they still got that same stuff up. Pull it up. I don't agree with that stuff. Can I post in the chat? Yeah, I put the number back in the chat. I just put it in there. It's 605-475-4018. Access code 947939. Oh, that's what's up, Big Kim. Okay, y'all building a temple? Okay, that's what's up. Yeah. Man, just give me your info so when people, you know, other people in the area hit me up, I can send them your way. That's what's up. Are you linked up with the temples here? The Moors in Trinidad, y'all linked up with us? Are we connected? If not, we need to be. Because this movement is divine. Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Trying to pull up something for y'all. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. All right. Hold up. I'm about to do a screen share for you. Peace.
Peace. This is actually, my name is Candy. I cannot get in on the chat at all. All I can do is listen to it, and it's like crazy. I've just listened to the knowledge drop Islam more.
Okay, cool.
This is actually, my name is Candy. I cannot get in on the chat at all. All I can do is listen to it, and it's like crazy.
Gotcha. If you want to say something, just send me a message on there. Well, yeah, it's cool. I got you. Hang on, yeah, I'm gonna show you something. Not linked with any temples. All right, look, to the brother in Trinidad. Check this out. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put a link in here. Go there. Contact the home office in Chicago. Okay, for real. All right. Link up with the Moorish Science Temple of America. Open a temple there in Trinidad. Okay. Let's do this. This is huge. This is big. Let's do it. I'm not gonna say no more on YouTube though. Just do it. I'm gonna put the link in there though. Hang on, y'all. And we about to do a screen share too. All right, it's big, y'all. All right, hold up. All right. Let me get this link up here for you. Wait, hold on. Oh, man. Hang on, y'all. Hang on. So I'm going to answer that question you asked about the consulates. I gotta put this link in here. Okay. Oh, that's for anybody that's looking for a Moorish Science Temple of America. Go there. Go to mstofa.net, and especially the brother in Trinidad, man. Go there. Go to the locator. It's a locator on there. Find the temple. This in Chicago, Temple 1, and contact them. Okay, get information, so that you can link up what you're doing there, with what we have going on here, because we all fam, and so definitely do that. Okay? And so so the brother asked how I feel about this. I don't feel any kind of way. I never mess with them. I never mess with these people. The only thing is like it's things, is red flags that I think anybody should pay attention to and be cautious about. Okay? There's no personal attacks because there's nothing against these people. I don't know them. I'm just going off of the information that they present. That's it. Okay? That's it. So going off of that information, let me see if I'm on the right one. All right. Trying to go. It might have did something to take that stuff off because I was showing that stuff last time. This is not a good look, people. Not a good look. Hang on. Alright, here we go. What did brother say? Not that page. Okay, yeah. Check the frequently asked questions. Okay? And I'm not saying this stuff to clown people. I'm not trying to be funny or anything like that. It's not like that, people. Okay? Alright, so more than likely it's the same stuff. Yeah, it's the same thing, same everything. This is from the Moorish American Consulate.org website. And it just says, check out frequently asked questions. This is the type of information that they're dealing with. This is what's important and what they, have to answer all the time. So they put this up on here. Right? And I'm pointing this out because, once again, I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm just saying, like, this is why I wouldn't advise anyone to mess with it. Right? Maybe, they need to tighten this stuff up. But like one of the first things on here is like, okay, how can I extract them more from all? They're talking about somebody that's locked up in prison. How can I extract them more from the unlawful corporate institution when the more is being held without direct consent? Okay, so these are the things that, like, I'm pointing this out because this stuff has nothing to do with nation building, and these are not high priority things for us. All right. How can I get an unlawfully seized, automobile, car, truck back from the police, policy officers, corporate policy officers, enforcers that took it? All right. And all they do is say, this is a part of standing. That's their answer. This is a part of standing. If you're standing on your right to travel, your stuff is going to get taken away. Like, no solution. Just like, hey, well, when you're protesting, stuff like this happens. And that, if you want to go out and do that, fine. I feel the energy. I feel where people are coming from. I get it. But it's like, it's pointless. This is why, like, last time in this other video, I was talking about how, like, the Black Lives Matters, that whole thing, that whole protest movement, it's not a grassroots movement. It's not really set up by us, the people, to improve our lives. This was bought and paid for and set up for us by some billionaire named George Soros and other people like him. They created a fake organization to represent us, our protests against, police officers killing Asiatics, right? And it's called Black Lives Matter, and all they do is go out and march. They don't put anything on the table. They're not getting any laws changed. They're not demanding anything in return. They're just protesting. It's just aimless. Getting you to protest for nothing, right? Tapping into your real energy. You have a real reason to be, upset and to want change. And they're tapping into that and putting it towards nothing. And then they also, I'm not going to get too much into that Black Lives Matter thing because that's off the subject, but they also use that, and they take this image of all these Asiatics marching, and they send this to these, they put this online for all these white nationalist groups to see too, so they can say, oh, they're rising up, they're getting ready to fight, when that's not even the case, right? So they're just amping that up. And then on the other hand, they tapping into us, putting our energy towards something that is useless, that is pointless, that doesn't even demand anything for return. They're not even saying, we'll stop marching if you do this. They're not saying anything. And that's the same thing. They want you to stand on your right to travel for nothing. Oh, yeah, this is a part of standing. Your car might get taken. Okay? They don't have any, they're not like, well, you know what? We take collections every month so that you can get your car out of impound. They're not, so you could get, just in case you get arrested, they're not taking collections, they're not doing anything. And then the standing on the right to travel is not getting anything done. It's not making it where it's recognized now, so they know when they see Moors, on that right to travel, leave them alone. No, you still might get your stuff taken, and you might even get your window busted out and arrested. So no, I don't like that, and no, I don't like encouraging people to do that. And if this was like some legitimate movement that was about the upliftment of our nation, of our people, and fixing things, why are they focused on this? And why don't they have a real, like, intelligent, solution-based strategy? Just, randomly go out there on your own by yourself and stand on your right to travel, and yeah, your car might get taken. Okay? You can create and file a demand to return stolen property that they like, come on, man. So they want you to do all this stuff, and you're talking all this stuff about the government, but you're gonna file a demand to return it with them? Like, come on, man. And also, they're giving out nationality cards too. They great, wonderful. I don't agree with that stuff. Then they want you to put your thumbprint in red, autograph in red. No. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. But hey, like I said, people don't know this. That's why I'm speaking on it. Somebody asked me, I'm going to speak on it. And, they, how do I nationalize, They're telling people what to do, or giving advice and probably charging for this too, doing these declarations and proclamations and stuff. Let's see, what else? Open case for driving without a license, right? So this is what they're dealing with. The majority of this stuff is stuff like this. People, and this is going to appeal to somebody who's already going to be driving without a license anyway. Because if your license is suspended, and there's reasons why it's suspended, instead of really dealing with that, you're looking at ways to get around it. And so this will appeal to someone like that. Instead of just taking care of it, hey, you can stand on your right to travel. Okay? Getting witnesses for your paperwork and stuff. This is, they seal your documents. But, I really don't like this, man, because then they telling people to send declarations to Donald Trump, the president. Why are they doing this? Why are they telling you to send declarations to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Why are they telling you to send declarations to the Department of Treasury? Attorney General. Why are they doing this? Secretary of State? Like, the Provost Marshal General? The Archbishop? Come on, man. The Governor? Like, come on. The Secretary of the United Nations. They want you to send your proclamation to them. Like, that's wrong, man. It's not. It doesn't even fit in with the chain of command how things would work if you needed to do something like that anyway. This is wrong. It's wrong. Then they want you to file liens. They want you to file liens on the mayor of Washington, D.C. Why are they advising you to file liens against, all of this stuff? This is crazy. And then the lady just got, not just, like a couple of years ago, got locked up, man. She got sent to prison, She was filing liens against public officials like they're advising you to do, and it backfired on her. Got her 7 years. Right? And then, yeah, these are not issues that are of huge importance to us. You having your personal problems with foreclosure, child support, human traffic, they talking about tickets. You having problems with tickets, tax liens, foreclosure, child support. That's not doing anything towards building a nation. That's not building building businesses. That's not doing anything that is important. All right? And so, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how I feel about that too. And so then the fact they claiming they nationalizing people is like, come on, man. And so I'm not saying that this is like Black Lives Matters where some billionaire who looks nothing like us is financing it. Okay? Because Black Lives Matter is not a grassroots movement. It's not. It's not real. But you probably know that if you're watching this. This looks just like that to me. And if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, that's what it is. I'm not going to be like, well, maybe they are and I'm going to mess with them. No, I'm staying away. All right? And that's what I advise anybody to do. And like, I don't agree with everything that everyone does. Somebody in the chat mentioned Taj. Like, dude, I would never sit up here and disrespect Taj, man. I respect him. A lot of people wouldn't even know about their Moorish nationality if it wasn't for people like him, and specifically him putting in work physically before everybody was online, and it was so easy to find all this information. He was out here in the streets, in the, classrooms, actually teaching people, okay? And I know because I didn't just start finding out about this from YouTube. I've been on this for years. Okay? So it wasn't easy to get information in the past. Some of y'all don't even know this because you're so young. Y'all are babies. Like, you don't know anything. All you know is the phone, right? The internet. So that's all you know. It wasn't easy to get information. You had to actually go out there and meet people and find people and go to libraries and do all types of stuff that y'all don't even care about now. So no, anybody who's disrespecting Taj, to me, that's wrong. You shouldn't even go there because the brother put in work, man. You should respect that. And it doesn't matter if I agree with everything that he or anyone else says. I'm not going to disrespect him, And then if you are going to sit up and take every word that comes out of someone else's mouth just because they're a great teacher and did all this work, you're going to sit up and act like everything they say is infallible. There's something wrong with you, because even the brother Taj Tariq Bey will let you know that he's not above correction. And that's what anybody that's real will let you know. They're like, okay, well, bring something else to the table. But I'm not going to sit up and agree just with everybody just because, no. And all I'm saying though about, because the brother asked about the consulates a couple of times, and then some other people asked too, and I didn't get to speak with Aseer about that stuff, but I'm gonna talk about it because I'm here. No, I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying it doesn't look right. I can't advise anybody to go and mess with it. I would advise people to go to temples. Okay? That's it. And then we don't need to be pushing division and all that stuff anyway. Okay? We need to work together. Okay? But, I just, like the brother said in the chat, peace. Oh, that's, okay. The Sheik, Wise Cobra L, peace. I'm with you on that. That's exactly how that website looks to me, But hey, nothing on there was of importance. And that's just the frequently asked questions. But you can look through the rest of it too. Nothing that they're, addressing is actually about nation building. If we're going to be real, most of the stuff that people that get into this Moorish information talk about is not really important. You know, because a lot of the things that we're dealing with, we're still in our lower selves. We're dealing with, you know, and I'm not knocking people having issues with child support and getting locked up and drug charges and all that stuff. Well, I am kind of knocking it, but I'm not sitting up here trying to act like I'm perfect. Like I ain't never been arrested. I ain't never, you know, experienced nothing. I'm not trying to act like that. Okay? I'm just saying that's something that I had to work out. You know? I was messing up. I had to get myself together. And that's something that you got to work out too. And then you won't have those problems anymore. That's not a huge, you know, nationwide thing. That's a part of the self. You know, you have to go and correct yourself first. And yeah, I was going to ask to see that too. There is a temple in Florida. Okay? I say link up with him. All right? And we'll put his information in the description. Sorry, but actually the link that I put up earlier, you can scroll back up in the chat, go to that mstofa.net and go to the locator, and the info's right there for the temple in Florida. Okay? Or the temples in Florida. What's that? All right, so for the brother that asked about Florida, yes, just go to that same website, mstofa.net. Go to the locator on there. Go to Florida. There's one right there. Okay. And yeah, those FBI files that's on the Moorish Science Temple of America, those are old, like real old. Okay, but that's another thing. Okay, all right. They studied the movement inside and out. And when I say they, I'm not talking about some spooky people. I'm talking about the government, you know, different entities within the government. Because you have to know that these are different departments. These are different entities. They don't even all share information. But yeah, like the FBI, different law enforcement agencies, they studied it and they still study it. And I'll tell you this, like a lot of times they know more about it than you do. Especially in light of all the information that is online. And so when people are coming into this, you're getting information from here and from there, like that website that I was just on, and you're thinking that's what the issues are. That's what Moorish American nationality is about. And so you got it twisted. Because like in the case that I was talking about where the lady had filed all these liens, you know, in retaliation, I guess, for her brother getting locked up for some drug charges. She filed a bunch of liens against like the judge presiding over the case and different public officials, right? Government officials, you know? And it backfired. And when the judge sentenced her, one of the things he said was that, wait, hold up. I might have that twisted with another case. It was either that case or it was the case with the guy was trying to get over on taxes, you know, tax fraud for the most part. But either way, may have been that one. But the judge had pointed out the difference between what she was doing and what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali actually brought with the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Like, I'm not saying he's like an expert on it. He probably just went and read about it, you know, for that case. But the thing is, he knew the difference. He made a differentiation, right? Okay, and I mean, this is the type of stuff I hear. I hear people saying stuff like that, like, "Oh, file liens on them," and you know, they just throwing that around like it's just some silly tool for them to use, and it's not. And then the problem is people are putting this information online. They don't even realize that cases are being built against them, and they're retaliating against it. Like, okay, well, we're gonna make that illegal. We're gonna make that a felony. We're gonna make that punishable by time in prison. Okay, prison camps. All right, you're not just able to just do whatever you want, run your mouth about it, and talk trash about how you gonna stick it to them online, and they're not watching and think that they're not plotting and planning on how to, you know, counteract whatever people are doing. Yeah. So you got to be careful out here. You do, really. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, and I'm just saying like you got to be careful. You got to guard yourself. You know, for real, for real. You have to take care of yourself and your family, right? Right. And hang on one second. Yeah, but that's crazy. Like, yeah, somebody's, in that position and you're gonna file liens, kind of like trying to retaliate or whatever. That's crazy. Like, and it's not gonna work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, right? But I don't know everything. Maybe there's another reason people are doing all this stuff. Maybe that's another part of it. I don't know. But I know it doesn't look right, and I mean, even if I didn't, see and read this information about this dude, this billionaire financing the Black Lives Matters group, I still wouldn't mess with it. I still wouldn't trust it, because to me it would be just like, see, some people don't know history, and history repeats itself. Like, read Malcolm X's biography if you haven't ever read it before, and just read what he said about the movements and things that were really going on back in the days, like in the 60s and the 50s. You had a lot of brothers and sisters who were out there who were begging. They were like, throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff. They were at war, right? And what was it about? Were they fighting because of integration, because they wanted to be able to eat in the same restaurants, use the same bathrooms as the Europeans, as the colonists? No. They were fighting because they were at physical war, because there were lynchings occurring. It was really about the lynchings, man. These people coming and killing, snatching up kids and, children and doing things, horrible things to our people. Like the stuff with Black Wall Street and all that. That's what it was about. Jim Crow. It was horrible, right? And so they don't teach you this in history school. They give you, just like it's Black History Month, right? Right? And they're giving you the candy version of everything. So what really was going down, like, Malcolm X was letting it be known, like, it was almost war, because of the, the conditions, the horrible things that we were going through, right? And so they came through, with the finance backed by different entities that were outside of our community, colonizers, like the NAACP. They didn't even own, and they still don't own the building that they're in. It's owned by Jews. So they got Jews who are, letting them use the building. They're paying rent. These people can cut them off and kick them out. Their salaries, everything, they're paid by them. They're financed by them. The movement, I think SNCC or SLLC, whatever it was that Martin Luther King and all them were a part of, these were financed and paid for by people outside the community, and they corralled that energy that was real. People wanted to do something, about to take over the planet, us, about to take over the country and rise up and be where we're supposed to be at. They tapped into that, because you got to think, at that time, what'd you have? What were we doing? We had Nation of Islam, right in the heart of all this craziness that's going on. We have Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay joining the Nation of Islam, all of these things going on. We rising up. Yes, they use subversive tactics. They don't teach Black history or any of this stuff correctly. Well, Black history, we teaching Moorish history right now real quickly to put things in the proper light and perspective of what really went on, okay? Because they give you the candy version of it. It was war, man. The Jim Crow, all that stuff, it was war. It was really about lynchings, man. It was about fighting back. That's what was really going on. And especially in urban communities, in the hood and stuff like that, people were more likely to be fighting physically, right? That's what it was about. And so they come through with this nonviolent, candy down version to tap into that. And that's why they were able to, they first were like, well, we might not be able to get the people in the streets in the hood, so we setting this up in colleges to go after the ones who are upwardly mobile, who's educated, who's trying to come up, and they getting them to join, right? And then they putting these people out there in front of them like Martin Luther King. And I'm not even saying that these people were sellouts, so that they weren't real and didn't want change, but they were being manipulated and put out there to corral your energy towards nothing. They want you to now go do sit-ins and make it seem to the rest of the world like the only problem we had was that, it's segregated. That's what it was about. It was a dupe. It was it was a con game. So they wanted to make it seem to the world like it was just about segregation. Right? And it worked. It worked. And everything was a con. I mean, we're gonna rise up regardless. There's nothing they can do about that. We still rise up. But like everything that happened, affirmative action, that wound up being a con because affirmative action for everyone. It benefits European women. You know what I'm saying? They didn't need any help. They're participating in the lynchings. They're horrible, right? They're a part of the problem. It benefits them. It benefits everyone. It benefits foreigners who, people coming here from all over the world, different countries in Europe, everywhere. It benefits everyone. Right? So everyone got the benefit of that. And, we were rising up anyway, so things were going to start changing anyway, It's a little tougher on them to get away with racism than it was, 50 years ago. And that's just because we were rising up. Okay, but at the way things were going back then, you're talking about real revolt, revolution for real taking place. And they, subdued it with the bought and paid for movement. It was fake. It wasn't grassroots. It wasn't real. And as soon as people like Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King started to think differently and say, man, I don't know about this. Martin Luther King thinking about linking up with Elijah Muhammad and stuff like that. As soon as stuff like that happened, boom, take them out. Right? So it was a game, man. And that's the same thing they did with the whole the whole little Black Lives Matter thing, People fed up. They're upset. So they got these people just out here marching for nothing. They're not even demanding anything. They're not even getting Al Sharpton out there to say, okay, we'll stop protesting if you do this. They're not even doing that. There's not even, a negotiation. It's just marching for selfies and stuff, Nothing getting accomplished from it. Right? And that's the truth. It has to be put in the proper light because you don't hear people saying this. That's how come the phone got cut off earlier and we couldn't get Aseer back on because we were speaking the truth. We're saying the truth. Okay? He was saying a lot of stuff and they're like, no. This is the truth. You don't hear people saying this. This is the truth. It has to be put in the proper light. Okay? I don't know about what that brother just said or sister or whatever about Nation of Islam. I give them respect. But look, what you see with that stuff though, with that website that I was on, the stuff they were dealing with was low level stuff. Personal issues that you need to work out on your own. You got parking tickets, speeding tickets and stuff like that. That does not need to be on the Moorish Science Temple of America website or the Moorish Consulate or whatever these other groups want to call themselves. It doesn't need to be on there. That is not a national issue. That doesn't even need to be addressed on the, nationwide scale. And it shouldn't be one of the frequently asked questions. That should be one of the you figure that out on your own things, right? And they shouldn't be encouraging people to get out and stand on their right to travel all the time so that you can be wasting your time. Okay? Pointlessly, aimlessly. It's not like they're like, okay, we're going to coordinate this and strategize this on a nationwide scale. So, or at least on local scales, we're going to start, getting things done so that they recognize us, so that they know when they see Moors, not even to ask us about license and all that stuff. They're not doing that. They're not. So it's just more aimless, pointless. Just getting you people who have energy, who are coming in. We got the energy to get it done. And they tapping into the energy and just siphoning it off towards nothing. And it's like two birds with one stone. And they getting people to get locked up. Right? So it works perfectly. So now it's not worth getting caught up. And then, it doesn't matter if it's that organization or some other one. If they talking like that, I would just avoid them. I would stay away because it's like, nah, man. You don't need to be standing on that stuff for no reason. And then especially if this is what the leaders of the, are talking about, they're not even pushing anything, man. Like, that stuff's not going to, like, put us in a better position. They're not building any businesses. What do you need right now? You gotta make things happen right now. Like, how are we gonna, like, what about food? Like, what about when these stores stop, stocking up? What they say, it only take like 3 weeks or 2 weeks of, stores not getting more food and stuff like that for things to start going crazy. Like, for it to be like straight up hell out here, right? It won't take that long. So it's like we have to be building, we have to be doing that, right? We need the grocery stores. We need to be working with each other and trading and doing things like that and having our own economy so that it doesn't matter what's going on and, on a larger scale. But that's grown-up talk. That's what I'm talking about. So if they're not talking about that, they're not talking about nothing. For real. Like that's what we, and not just talk, that's what we need to be doing, business and doing these things so that we prepare, so that we good no matter what. Not the parking tickets, man. Get out of here. like for real, you should be like that. Like, if somebody you building and trading and doing these things, these real grown man, grown woman things, but if somebody come around you talking about these parking tickets, yeah, we gonna do this, we don't need a license, you ought to want to smack them like for real, and not smack them on some hate, smacking them with love. Sometimes you need tough love. Smack some sense into them. Because people need it. That's not a grassroots movement, though. Meaning it's not from the people. It's not real. It's not legit, man. So that's, for the people that's listening, though, for real, I hope you hear it and share this message. Because that's what time it really is. Okay, so now we don't need to be out here downing everybody, but people need to hear this. They need to know, because there's a whole bunch of traps that are set up for you on this journey to get you like caught up in these pitfalls so that you cannot reach your potential. And you need to see it for what it really is so that you don't get caught up. Right? I don't know if this person is joking or if they for real or what, but anybody talking that mess, I couldn't even take them seriously, like for real. All right, and it takes work to get to where you want to be at if you really want to get there, and you can talk all the stuff you want, but at the end of the day, just being real, like, you're not in a position to succeed. We not, as a, nation, in a position to succeed, man. Like, if things go, like, you could talk trash about the Nation of Islam all you want, but they're in a better position, than any other group I could think of. At least they have farms, Muhammad Farms. They have businesses. They have discipline. They have strategies. They're going to be for real. And you can't talk trash about them. You give them respect. We need to learn. We need to work together. We need to implement that on a larger scale. Like, anybody who's talking trash about that sounds like a baby. For real. right? So on that note, it's late, and I'm gonna go on and shut it down. All right. So much respect to everybody. Click the share one more time on this. Yeah, give me a call, bro, and we'll build. On that note, Islam, peace.